Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Friday night live stream with our awesome guests. What's going? Oh, that's. Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to the Friday night live stream. Well, hey, we already have a technical. What's going? Oh, that's. Hey everybody, how's it going? Hold on. All right, I managed to mess that up right when we started. I had it playing in the background. All right, everybody, welcome. And I just want to introduce our guest, 25-year FBI Special Agent retired, John DeSouza. He worked in counterintelligence counterterrorism for the FBI, was an investigator at the 9/11 scene. I call him a white hat, patriot, citizen journalist, digital soldier. He's a mentor to me. From the videos, the interviews that he's done, and the time that we've got to spend in person, learning from him personally. And he is also, if you don't already know this, it's probably part of the reason you're here, he is the FBI agent that worked on actual X-Files with the FBI, and who the show The X-Files was created about. He helped write some of those. John, where did I mess up? What did I miss out?
No, it sounds great, Michael. I like this, and I'm on screen now, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Great. Okay,
you are
great.
On screen. I can see Andrea. Can you see John?
Yes.
All right. Yep.
Okay, great.
All right. Technical difficulties starting out, but we're going. Thank you so much for being here on my live stream, man.
Michael, first of all, I just want to say I love that opening reel that you made, showing yourself and your work. I mean, and I want to say thank you for your service. You were a 10-year veteran of the United States Air Force, a fireman, and also you do great work for veterans, for American veterans with PTSD, and that's just amazing work. And I want to sincerely say thank you so much, Michael, and thank you for all the service that you do for our nation and all that you have done. And it's very important stuff, and I really do thank you for all that. It's so important what you do and what you have done. Thank you so much.
Wow, you're going to make me emotional right here at the beginning of this.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I had.
But no, I really appreciate. Coming from one of my heroes. I don't like to call people heroes very often because that's a big title, but you are. I've got a less than a handful of people that I consider a hero. And to have you on here giving me compliments like that, it's really such an honor, and I really appreciate it. And not to correct you, but I spent just a little over 14 years in the Air Force. I was a crash fire rescue firefighter for just around 5 years, and then I was a multimedia, photo, video, and broadcast journalist for just about 10 years after that. And what I think about it, I think about it like this: I don't have my uniform anymore. I don't have a paycheck anymore. I don't have an official title, but I'm still upholding the oath that I swore to the Constitution, to the people of our country. And, I see you doing the same thing. You don't have your badge anymore. You're not getting your government paycheck, but you might possibly be putting in more time and effort and work and passion into what you're doing now than maybe you did. Well, I shouldn't speak for you. For me, that
no, you're absolutely right.
That's how it's going.
Yeah.
But
that's exactly right.
So we ended up here on the same team because we're just trying to get the truth out to people and trying to fight for our country and for the amazing people that live in our country and people around the world. And here we are talking to each other. If somebody would have told me in the 90s when I was watching the X-Files that I would have a YouTube channel and I would be sitting here talking to the guy that show was written about and that I would consider you a friend, I would have told them they were crazy. And here we are.
Cool. Thank you, Michael. And so let me just tell you guys the story of that real quick. I'm getting used to like making my stories smaller with this TikTok atmosphere that we're all living in now. So let me tell you guys real quick. When I first got in the FBI, what happened was let me show this. This is cool because I always have. There's always trolls who are like, "Oh, he wasn't in the FBI. That's BS. There's no way." Does that show the whole frame? Because my frame is a little.
Back it up a little bit. I can see the FBI. There we go. There's the badge, and
there we go. Okay.
There.
When you retire from the FBI, they take your badge apart with your credentials and everything, and they put it on a plaque so that you can't like use it to rob banks and stuff like that after you retire. So that's why it's here and it's on a plaque because I know there's always trolls who are like, wait, their credentials are supposed to fit in their pocket. That can't be in a frame. There's no way. So anyway, that's what this is, and that's what I got. So what happened was when I first went to the FBI, there was an incident. There was an incident involving a paranormal incident that occurred at the FBI, and when I went to the academy, I went around asking about it, and that made some people in the FBI very upset. They got upset. They told me that I was not going to graduate from the FBI academy, and that I would not graduate, and that I would not be able to get out, and that I would never become an FBI agent as a result of that, of me asking questions about this paranormal incident that occurred. And so I did experience a lot of targeting and persecution against me during my time at the academy. They would sometimes go into my room at the academy, FBI academy, just before inspection, because we used to have inspection, and they would go into my room and throw my beds on the floor, empty out the garbage all over the room, and throw clothing all over the floor, so that I would. But I was so hyper aware of everything that was going on around me that I made sure I knew when they were doing that, and I would run. I would skip lunch or whatever meal was officially given to us at that time, and I would run back to my room and fix it up real quick before inspection. And then the counselor who was in charge of persecuting me, he was like amazed when he would open up my room. He'd be like, watch this, guys. He would open up my room for inspection and it would be spotless. Everything would be fine. When he had just left it with banana peels on top of the bed frame, and the bed frames and the mattresses on the floor. So it would just be shocked. Anyway, so we played that game during my entire time at the academy. And wouldn't you know it, eventually I did graduate, and he had to give me my credentials, the credentials I just showed you. And it was probably the hardest thing he ever had to do in his life. He was pissed. He was upset. But anyway, once I went to my first office, what they did was he called up the counselor who was very upset with me, called up my first office, and he said, this guy has an interest in paranormal cases, anything to do with UFOs or any crappy stuff that you have. Make sure you assign it to him. Sign it to him, give it to him, and let's see how he likes that for a year or two. Let's see how he does. And so that's what they did. They assigned to me what we call control files that all had to do with UFOs and other paranormal cases, and they assigned them to me. I have to tell people real quick, there was never any separate X-Files division or unit in the FBI, like you see. I guess the X-Files kind of showed that, but that didn't. What we have in the FBI is we had subject matter experts in the field, like me. So you have a subject matter expert who was an expert in paranormal, and then he would be lent out to other agencies and other places that needed that subject matter expert type of thing. So that's what we had, and that's what I worked. And also with those cases, what happened was that I kept a notebook, kept like a leather bound with it was called my OTB book, off the books cases and notes from things that are off the books. In other words, things that didn't really make it into FBI files, that weren't talked about in FBI files. And it could be for a variety of reasons. It could be because they just didn't want it. They just didn't want it publicly known, or for some other reason, they just didn't want it in the files. So I kept my own OTB book. And what happened was, after a few years of working these cases, my OTB book, my off the books notes of all these paranormal cases was, I believe, was taken from me by some agents who retired and went to Los Angeles to be consultants for television. And one of the things that happened then was they started this new show called The X-Files. And I believe it was based partly on my OTB book, my off the books notes from my cases. And other people who believed the same thing were the bosses at the FBI, because the X-Files went on in 1993. It went on. It was on for one season. And the FBI bosses immediately called what was his name? Chris Carter, the creator of the X-Files. They called him. And they told him, "Where are you getting?" Because they recognized my cases. They recognized my cases in that first season of the X-Files, and they saw what was going on. So they called Chris Carter on the carpet, and he talks about this today. He's talked about this in several interviews. And the FBI and our bosses, and I was there too, because they were questioning me on whether I provided information, illegally to Chris Carter for my case files, because that's really not allowed to be done. You can't do that. And so I was called in that same conference call with Chris Carter, and he was questioned. He was threatened, and he was told that his show, The X-Files, was never going to make it out of its first season because they were going to shut him down because he was using classified information in his show. Well, Chris Carter said he definitely had no intent. I mean, he did tell them he was using some, retired FBI guys as consultants, and they just give him hypothetical information, stuff like that. And he said to them, "I had no idea of anything that was classified nature that was being used. But if you give me the information on the cases that you're looking at, like which episodes and what cases are you looking at that are being revealed, and I will get back to you on exactly what was gotten, what did we get from the writers and what did we get from other places." And at that point, they didn't want to reveal any more than what was already revealed. So they basically, at that point, they kind of backed off, and they told Chris Carter, "Okay, no, it's okay. Whatever this first season was, as long as you don't use that information anymore, and go on and make your show and do your show with whatever you want to do, and you can and we'll just chalk this up to experience, and you can go ahead with your show in the future." And Chris Carter said, "Okay, great," and that's fine. And they kind of went to their neutral corners, and then I was questioned further, and I told him, "Yeah, I told you guys I never had contact with Chris Carter. I never gave him any case files. I never had anything of that sort." And so they told me, "Okay, then you're fine. Go back and do your work." But of course, everyone knew what was going on. So as a result of that incident, and just as a result just of that day, they gave me the name the X-Files guy, and then shortened it later to the X-Man, which I have never liked as a nickname, but
that's how nicknames seem to go, right? That's
yeah.
Usually when you get a nickname in a government agency, or like when I was in the fire department, they called me Bull. Like Bull from Backdraft. So if you're a firefighter and you watch the movie Backdraft, everything that they do in that movie is what you should not do as a firefighter.
Right.
And one day on my day off, I ran into a burning house to go help people that were in there and help the animals, and without my bunker gear, without my PPE. And then my department heard about it, And they were like, "Oh, you think you're Bull from Backdraft, huh? Just running in burning houses?" And that was my nickname forever. So sorry to cut you off with that, with my own
No,
personal
cool.
story about nicknames, but yeah, that's kind of how it goes, right?
Yeah, that is how it goes. That's amazing. That is really something.
So those,
I
so I'm guessing with the surveillance and the technology that the FBI and other government agencies had at that time, they already knew that you didn't give those files to Chris Carter, to the people that were doing that show, but they probably had to question you anyway, and they knew that you weren't, guilty of doing that. That would be my best guess.
Yeah, most likely that's probably what the situation was, and it was definitely not the last time I was accused of wrongdoing in the FBI. So it was something I was like I had to get used to at that point, because in the FBI I was, and I can say this with some certainty because I've looked into this. I was both the most punished and also the most rewarded FBI agent in the history of the FBI. I got more awards and things for my work, and different certificates and all kinds of public awards. But also, I was also incredibly punished all the time as well, for various different reasons. That was
Well,
amazing.
my guess would be there were some other agents that were envious of what you were doing and wanted to make sure that you were punished for doing such a good job.
Yeah,
I've seen it
you
happen
think?
over and
Yeah,
over in the government.
yeah.
Oh, this guy's he's gonna be a shining light, huh? We'll show him, and then the better you do, the more they come after you. So it's
Oh, exactly. And that's exactly right. That's very perceptive of you, Michael. I'll tell you, when I went, eventually I went to FBI Arizona FBI. And and one of the reasons that I went to Arizona was because I was pursuing this master terrorist who had a huge terrorist cell here in Arizona here, and he had a huge terrorist cell. And so when I came, to Arizona, it was amazing that I told the entire Arizona FBI they had to help me with this case because it was a huge case that required a lot of resources, and required a lot of technology and all kinds of crazy resources to do this case against this terrorist ringleader, whose name, of course, was Muhammad. Like all their names are
Mhm.
Muhammad all the time. So what happened was all of the older white agents. I mean, that's the way I've always described them. There were a bunch of old white dudes, who mostly like that. They were kind of like the old Irish cops in the neighborhood, that from the 50s. Like that's the kind of guys that they were. They were just and they did not want to help me with that case, and so so one thing that they did was they started a campaign against me that I was persecuting Muslims for no reason, that I had some kind of thing against Muslims, and that's why I was going after this guy, that I didn't have enough evidence for the extraordinary techniques that I was requesting. And so they put a stop. They put a stop to my big terrorist hunter case that I had going as soon as I came to Arizona. So then, what happened was that one day I came into the Arizona office, to the Arizona FBI office, uh, and this was after I was kind of defeated over this denial of this investigation. I was very defeated. I was very defeated and very upset that these guys just came together and stopped a legitimate, legitimate investigation into freaking terrorist cell, a huge terrorist cell that was going on in Arizona. So then I walked into the office one morning. I walked into the office, and it's an office with like 100 agents, 100 desks in there, and it's like lots of people, very busy place. But when I walked in this morning, it was dead silent for some reason. It was dead silent, and all the agents and all the clerical people and the secretaries, everybody stood up as I walked in. And as I came walking in, it was like a scene out of Billy Jack. They all started standing up and staring at me, and I was like looking around.
What did I
And
do?
well, yeah, like what did I do? But they were kind of smiling, so it wasn't like scowls or anything. But they all stood up, and even the supervisors started standing up as I went further and further into the building, and everybody started standing up, and I got back, and then I was like, I finally got the supervisor's office, the guy in charge of the office. I got back into his office. I'm like, okay, what's going on?
What's going on?
And he said, he said, you just come with me. And I went with him, and W. Bush was on a screen. President at the time, W. Bush, the younger Bush, was president at that time, and he had called in. He called in to us, and he had actually, what do you call, yelled at the FBI, yelled at at my office for not. He was told them, why didn't you guys give John DeSouza the resources that he needed to go after this terrorist cell? Because we got to do that right now, because that's ridiculous. You guys can't deny giving him resources for what has to be done. And I saw the president, and I was like, thank you very much, sir. And he said my name again, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. So
What year was that? Or around 90s?
It had to be right after. It had to be right after World Trade Center happened.
Okay.
So when Bush was in office, right? So 2002, yeah. I would say.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I would say spot. I can never remember exactly what year stuff happened either. I don't know how to do that. But no,
right. But I would say it had to be 2002.
I'm pretty damn sure there's still a lot of that going on here in Arizona. So John McCain was from this area, and now I'm not going to say without beyond the shadow of a doubt, but it's been said that McCain and Barry Soetoro were the ones that created ISIS.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go.
That's why I talk about that in 1,000 Pieces, because that was very clear to us in the FBI. I mean, with the FBI people that I hung out with, which were a very special group, a very select group.
Did you happen to see? Did you happen to see the video that I made about the coincidence that I stumbled upon here in Arizona, in Phoenix?
No. I probably did, but refresh me.
I'll just run through it. 30-second rundown. So al-Baghdadi, the leader of ISIS, was taken out. Right. I went to go pay my rent one day, and I'm walking up to the place where I pay my rent, and I look over to the right, and I go, that name looks really familiar. The sign above this hookah shop / cafe lounge is the Baghdadi Hookah Lounge. And I was like, that can't be a very common name. That's kind of coincidental. And I put it out on Twitter because I know from this certain FBI agent that I met one time that maybe possibly certain Intel agents watch Twitter accounts or social media and kind of maybe use that to get tips. I put it out there and said, hey, this place is called the Baghdadi Hookah Lounge. I go through some really weird street theater type stalking stuff over here when I go pay my rent. I mean, it happens quite a bit when I go different places, but I put that out there. And 3 months later, a man wanted for murdering 2 Iraqi police officers was apprehended in that same neighborhood. It's on 35th and Northern in Phoenix. He was apprehended in that exact same neighborhood 3 months later. And he's now in jail waiting to be extradited back to his country.
Wow.
So who knows? Maybe it was a coincidence that whole scenario worked out the way it did, but it seems pretty interesting. But yeah, I think there's some of that still going on here.
Yeah, it's we have neighborhoods. We have neighborhoods that are very popular. Actually, there are neighborhoods in Tucson, Arizona, that are very popular with radical Islamics because there was a neighborhood where Osama bin Laden actually came to do fundraising in person. I mean, he actually physically came here, and also a lot of the top guys from Al Qaeda came to Tucson right next to the university, right next to where the university is, and they did a lot of fundraising there
Wow.
from the local Islamic population.
Wow. Which again, we have to reiterate: we're not anti-Muslim, anti-Islamic.
No.
It's just any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Extremist of any group, extremist that's willing to carry out acts of violence. It's something we need to keep an eye on to keep everybody safe.
Right, because regular Muslims are the most victimized by these radical Islamic extremists. They are victimized tremendously because they just want to live their lives and do whatever it is they're doing. And these extremists come up to them and extort them for money, for funds, for support, because they have to give it. They have to, because otherwise it's bad for whoever they have back in the home country.
Yep. Yeah. So they hold that over their head. Sounds like a form of human trafficking or enslavement.
Right.
People.
They do plenty of that too. Yeah.
So one of the things that John came on here to talk with me about, and that I asked him if he would talk about this, he was just in a documentary called 1,000 Pieces. And I watch a lot of documentaries. I researched nonstop since November 17th of 2017. I've spent every day of my life putting all of my time and effort, into trying to survive and get through some really difficult times that were not organic. And in between trying to survive and run my business, I am researching nonstop and documenting and reporting different events that are going on in my life and with other people that are experiencing similar things. This is the best documentary that I've ever seen. It connects a lot of dots. It puts a lot of things together in a really simple way to understand for a lot of different people that people seem to gravitate to certain groups, certain type of research, and it puts a lot of the different groups of research all together to form kind of a foundation for people to have a better knowledge of the bigger picture of what's going on in our country and around our world. So John was in that documentary along with one of my other favorite people, Kathy O'Brien. One of the toughest people, survivor, smart lady. And so John and Kathy were both in that. General Flynn's brother, Joseph Flynn, was interviewed in that. You guys did a great job. You guys did a really good job.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, why don't we, since I have this all queued up here, why don't we play a clip from that real quick so you guys can see John in 1,000 Pieces. Let's see if I get this right. All right, here we go. Let's play this clip.
I'm John DeSouza. I was an FBI Special Agent for 25 years, and I am now trying to let people know the truth of what's really going on around them. When people go against their political leadership in the FBI or whatever organization that they're in, the intimidation, the coercion, the persecution that comes back at us, it takes a devastating emotional toll. It can lead to terrible depression and even suicide. And that's karma. That's karma that is built up for those corrupt political people who do these things. And that karma does come back to them.
So there was John in 1,000 Pieces of the documentary.
That makes me emotional. Also, it's we're just 1,000 Pieces is a collection of the various FBI agents, CIA people, other people, General Flynn and others that we've been targeted and victimized by this same Barry Soetoro cabal of people, of politicians and FBI agents and all kinds of corrupt core of government officials that just went through the government. They went through the government like a freaking tornado of corruption is what I call it. And they destroyed so many FBI agents, CIA people, I mean, Pentagon people who actually had integrity, who said, I'm not going to sign this report. I can't sign it. It's not telling the truth.
Yep.
You know, Hillary didn't do these things, you know, or she did do these things. I'm not going to sign this report, you know. And
I watched it happen even in California in the military. I worked with I knew the Adjutant General of California, who was in charge of the Army National Guard and the Air National Guard, down through the ranks. And I watched good people be removed and some pretty terrible people be inserted in their positions. And it wasn't processing with me. I was like, why is this going on? How did Colonel, well, I don't want to say their names, but so get removed. That was like one of our best leaders. That doesn't make any sense. And then as I started learning, I started realizing what was going on. You know, good people were being removed, people with integrity, empathy, intuition, you know, good type of people that would do the right thing were being removed because they would shine light or they would fight against the corruption that was being inserted into everything. I don't even want to just say one organization. I mean, they tried to infiltrate. Not tried to, they did. They infiltrated everything. They made sure they did it up at the top. And I watched a full bird colonel get a double promotion to a two-star general within months. And that doesn't happen. That does not happen. And that's one of the things that got my wheels turning. You know, all this information goes in my head and it just starts processing. And I'm going, that doesn't make sense. And now looking back, hindsight is all 2020. And you know, here we are talking about it. So that's a lot of that is being cleaned out right now, thankfully.
Good. So, was that guy that you saw, was he a Muslim by any chance under Obama?
That person, I don't believe he was, but should I even say this out loud? Yeah, screw it. I don't care. The former commander of my base, I'll just say his name.
Don't say his name. Don't say his name.
Okay, maybe I shouldn't. All right.
No, you can say the story. Say the story, but don't say his name, though.
Former commander at my base, he got promoted up pretty high too. I guess I don't need to say his name if I say his position. He's now the Inspector General of the Air Force.
Wow, that is. People don't understand how high a position that is.
It's way, way up there. And I used to sit at Commander's Call directly across from this guy, you know, monthly, and had personal conversations with him, was given direct orders from him. And I think, you know, I've got a handful of people on the list that I think could be possible for the targeting that I experienced. I was put on some kind of list. For those of you that are new to my YouTube channel, we're not going down that avenue today. We're talking about some different things. But I've gone through some targeting in my life, and I'm trying to figure out, kind of like that show Burn Notice. I don't know if you've ever seen that show Burn Notice. Michael Weston, he was a CIA agent. He got burned, and he was trying to figure out who did it to him. So I wasn't a CIA agent. I was just a firefighter and a journalist in the Air Force, and somebody targeted me, and I've been trying to figure out who the hell did it and why. And it's been a long journey, and it's been like living in the Truman Show. So anyway, but we're not here to talk about me. We're here to.
Yes, we are, Michael, because everything about you keeps reminding me about, again, another parallel thing that happened to me as well. Because it's amazing. Because one thing I want to say is, I think just about anybody who's ever like actually accomplished anything or done anything with their lives is on a list somewhere. It's on a list somewhere. And I'll give you an example of my own. I am on because of my work in counterterrorism against the Al Qaeda groups, against the ISIS groups. I am on a list somewhere in Pakistan and Saudi and Kingdom as well, where I can for the rest of my life I can never and I advise anyone who has a similar name to me as well, never visit an Islamic country or a country that has significant Islamic influence. Either like for instance, a lot of people don't know the Philippines. The Philippines has very strong Islamic groups and presence in the government over there, no matter who's in charge in the Philippines. So that's another place. I can never travel there. I can never go there, and or any other Islamic country that is truly Islamic, because it will have a lot of radical influence in that country. And so I'm excluded from that for the rest of my life, always.
I believe that it wouldn't be a good idea for me to do that either.
Yeah.
So if we ever go on vacation together, we'll go somewhere else.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. I talk about this targeting thing a lot, and it's not the targeted individual. Let's see, how can I say this? What lines up right along with what you guys talk about in 1,000 Pieces, the documentary, how systems have been weaponized against U.S. citizens. Let's see, how can I say this? Basically, what I've been talking about, my research has taken me to the top to show infiltration into our government that has to do with Barry Soetoro. I don't like saying his name either. His made-up name, which is, he called himself Barack Obama. He's what I was told is he's a 33rd degree Freemason. I got sent to jury duty. A man came and sat next to me and had his Freemason ring on. And he leaned over and he told me, your president's a 33rd degree Freemason. And I was like, interesting. I knew nothing about that. I had no idea. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. But the way he was telling me was really intimidating. He was leaning in real close, breathing on me, and stuff. That was when stuff had already gotten a little bit weird. So, but they use a lot of projection and signaling when they do things. And my theory is, and I could be way off, but I think he picked his name, Barack Obama, because he was literally sent here to destroy our country and destroy our military. So if you're going to destroy our military, how would you do it? You'd go after the troops. Where do the troops stay? In barracks. Barack, barracks. Obama, bomber, barracks, bomber. I could be wrong. Who knows? Could be a stretch, but that's what resonates in my mind. So, but yeah, they did this. So George, I'll just go down my timeline that I've gone over and over with. George Soros paid the Obama administration millions and millions of dollars in around 2012. Right after that, watch listing guidance was updated, and a bunch of actual terrorists that had ties to the Muslim Brotherhood were taken off of terrorist watch lists and put into positions of influence into maybe some different intel agencies and stuff like that. Then patriotic American citizens, journalists, whistleblowers, anybody anti-corruption
were put on the watch list.
The deep state were put on that watch list, and former Department of Homeland Security officer Philip Haney figured that out, and he tried to report it 9 times. He was investigated all 9 times, and they never would look into it because they had cover. So that happened. That watch listing guidance was updated. When DHS was formed, they consulted Marcus Wolf, who was the second in charge director of the secret Stasi police in East Germany, and they also
And is Haney still around? Is
Haney was murdered. He was.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Only maybe 4 or 5 months ago, if that. They said it was a suicide. He was shot multiple times in the chest. They found him next to his vehicle, and they ruled it a suicide initially. So he was actually Philip Haney was on Caravan to Midnight with John B. Wells. He was on that show a few months before I was. Same show. General Flynn has been on that show, and Philip Haney and I talk about very similar things. What he talked about is what I ended up in. So I'm trying to carry on Philip Haney's mission. And, so a lot of veterans were targeted. The statistics actually in the documentary 1,000 Pieces that show the suicide rates links directly to these targeting lists and these PSYOP lists that veterans and patriots basically were put on. And a lot of those suicides link directly to that. So I won't go through. It'll take me 20 minutes to explain the whole thing. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, go back and listen to some of my other videos. Go to my website and check that out. But watch this documentary. Watch 1,000 Pieces. You can find it on Vimeo. I believe Andrea maybe can put a link. Andrea is my girlfriend and my fellow investigator. She does a better job than I do sometimes. She finds things that are amazing. But yeah, maybe she can put the link in the comments here. And by the way, while we are doing that, look down at the bottom of the screen.
There it is, the crawler. There's the crawl.
Everywhere that you would like to find John DeSouza on social media, Twitter, Facebook. There's a link to Amazon to his books. Oh, which, by the way, John has written 3 different books. One of them is called Clear Hearers. And what are the names of the other 2, John?
The Para Investigators and the Extra Dimensionals. Okay.
All right. So those are 3 books that John has written. Link is in the crawl there. You taught me something new again. I didn't know that was called the crawl. Learn something new every day. So all that information is right there. So the para investigators, that's one of the, okay. So I think that one of the most important things I learned from you is how to be a true investigator. And a lot of people don't understand the difference between what is a true investigator as opposed to an investigator. And what you taught me was that a true investigator is different from a fact finder, where a fact finder finds only the facts and that's where they end. A true investigator starts where that ends, with the facts, and then you go from there and you start thinking outside of the box, because to figure some of this stuff out that's going on in the world, you have to be a true investigator. You have to use your intuition. You have to go by your gut and let that take you to some different places. And that's been so valuable to me to learn that from you. And, it's not like John just picked me out and said, "Hey, Mike," pulled me aside and I'm going to teach you this stuff. I went to one of John's seminars. Now I did sit in the front row and I didn't shut up the entire seminar. I actually had to make myself stop at the end and apologize. Like, "Hey, I'm sorry. I'm just so into this. I'm not trying to take over your seminar here."
I love that.
He was saying it was resonating with me so much. And the theories that had come up with and the things that you were talking about, I'd already processed a lot of it in my head. And I'm like, he's saying exactly what I've been thinking, and so yeah, you guys can go. I don't know, John, are you still doing stuff like that? Are you still doing your seminars?
Yeah, I'm doing my seminars, and not locally anymore. I'm not doing that. Okay. Not doing that stuff locally anymore. Okay. But I'm doing. I'm going to have a seminar on January 3rd online with Portal to Ascension. I will have on January 3rd with Portal to Ascension, and it's going to be going to start advertising it on my Facebook, on my websites, on my stuff, and it's going to be 2020 investigative predictions 2021. That's what that's going to be my next presentation, lecture, seminar, and it's going to be pretty crazy. It's going to be crazy. Well, but I'm going to show my work.
I'll make sure I share it when I see it on social media.
Awesome.
Definitely.
It's good stuff.
Okay, so Andrea, are we missing any questions here for John? Let's see if. Oh, she's writing them down. Okay.
Do you have the chat on your right side of your?
I have the chat open. Yep.
TB, he's got a T on his circle.
Well, if you're writing them down, you want to bring me a couple, and we'll see what.
No, but you gotta.
I'm sure
I think you have to open comments instead of private chat.
Yep, I have the comments open.
Okay.
Let's see.
Somebody says payday for some reason. Somebody says
John DeSouza is a legend. I concur. I concur.
See it? It's about 8 comments up.
From who?
TB.
TB. Okay, here's one right here from TB. Thank you. Does he know about the rectangular UAEs? UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates. Maybe there's a different acronym.
I think they meant something else. Yeah.
UAVs, something like that.
But
Are they
Right.
ours? And if so, do they have holographic projection capabilities?
yeah, I don't know if they meant to say rectangular. I don't see that one. But we've heard of triangle, we've heard of boomerang shape, we've heard of cigar shape UFOs. Many shapes. I've never heard of rectangle. I don't know if that's what she meant to say. But if she's talking about triangle, maybe, then that's, everybody knows about the triangles that are so huge, like the black triangles, like Phoenix Lights, like what happened in the Phoenix Lights in 1999. And then again in 2008.
About
was the
10
Phoenix.
minutes away from where I'm sitting right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And those triangles, those black triangles, were about a half a mile from wingtip to wingtip. That's how huge they were. I actually interviewed some people down in Sells, Arizona, where they actually saw that the triangle from Phoenix actually reappeared over Sells. And I talked to them. They said it blotted out the entire night. It just blotted out the whole starry sky. It was all they saw was black as they looked up, and it was huge. And it was close to them. It looked close, like it was close to them, and they were just astounded. And then it shot down a green beam, and I've heard many witnesses talk about this bluish green beam of light that comes out of these UFOs, and it came down to the ground like a spotlight. And this lady ran into it, and this lady that I spoke to, and she started dancing around in the beam, in the spotlight. And she said, and I talked to her, and I said, and she danced around the spotlight. The spotlight then, after a while, it disappeared, and then the ship just kind of moved off, and disappeared. It was gone like that. And I asked her, how do you feel when the spotlight? She was like, I just felt joy. I felt joy and happiness, and I felt like they were coming. They were going to be one with us. And so that's why I was filled with joy. And she said she had no ill effects from the spotlight that came out of the black triangle. She said she felt great. But in my experience, people who go through experiences like that, they receive like an increase in their creative abilities and in their abilities of any kinds. It's a weird thing that happens, but I've seen it happen many, many times.
Interesting. So what are the possibilities that some of those type of experiences, those encounters, are government or above government technology that aren't actually alien technology that we would just perceive to be alien technology because we don't have that knowledge?
Yeah. There's a high probability. There's a significant percentage of those cases that are probably government black ops and government related things of that sort. And I can give you an example right off the bat is when you see these videos on the Tic Tac incidents that occurred in 2004, and you see these are being pushed by this what are they, to the Stars Academy group, and they're being pushed as being UFOs and proof that we are definitely not alone in the universe. And you see CNN and Fox showing these videos and saying, yeah, UFOs are real. Look at this. Okay, those are top secret military drones, those Tic Tacs, and they have extraordinary capabilities. They're able to move in ways that we've never seen before. They're able to travel at speeds that we've never seen before, and it's just amazing. And what happened was that in 2004, the United States already had these military drones, and they needed a secure place to experiment with them. So they sent out the Nimitz carrier group to the North Sea, and they created like a safe zone there for these military drones to be tested. And that's what they did. They went there, and all of these military drones are now called the A-24s, A-24s. And I've come to this conclusion with the help of a great engineer who has actually worked with aerospace before, named Mike Barra. Mike Barra, who's has his channel, the Mike Barra Official on YouTube, and he has come to this conclusion, and he knows for a fact that those drones are the A-24s that are currently in use in our government, and those drones have so much capability that probably one of those drones could destroy an entire group from the Air Force, because that's the incredible movement that these things have. It's incredible how much movement they have. And right now, Donald Trump has all of these things in his possession, and he could use them at any time.
Good. Well, the technology, it can be used for good or evil, and I think it's been used for evil for a long time. And I think a lot of that is being taken over now to the white hats, the good guys, using a lot of that technology for the better. So, yeah, thanks for clearing that up, though, because I've had that thought in my mind for a long time. Everybody, believing the existence of other types of entities or aliens is highly, highly plausible. Most likely, without a doubt, there's stuff out there.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of times people are confused between the two because of the technology. I don't know if I've told you this, but my dad used to work for Lockheed Martin Skunk Works.
Wow.
He worked for Rocketdyne that made the engines for the space shuttle. Before that, he was a crash fire rescue firefighter at Plant 42. Plant 42 is where they do the research and development for, high tech stuff like that. Maybe stuff that might be tested at Area 51, et cetera. But I used to sit in the backyard with my dad after I started getting to know him a little more. We didn't spend a lot of time when I was younger, but we sit in the backyard and we'd watch the planes fly over. And a few things would go over and there'd be no lights and it would block out the stars. And my dad would say, "Those are called black ops." That's all he would say. He didn't say what it was or anything like that. For quite a while, I'm like, well, what are a lot of these encounters? Are they man-made technology that nobody's aware of, or are they, them, So, but I made a TikTok video about that went viral. I explained that not too long after that. Actually, my dad had told me that somebody had threatened to shoot him. And yeah, he told me that somebody had threatened to shoot him in the head. I went to go visit him. I'm not trying to take this in a dark direction, but it kind of goes along with this. He told me that somebody had threatened to shoot him in the head. I couldn't even go to his house. I had to meet him at a restaurant. Not long after that, I returned home from guard duty one day and got news that he had committed suicide, that he had shot himself in the head. And I just didn't. That seemed a little too coincidental that he had just told me that he was threatened and then he committed suicide. So I don't know. Someday we'll know. Anyway, that's a whole other talk show. I don't want to take this down. Take this down that way. Let's see some of these other.
Question from Michaela that says, "John, you shared a story about a serial killer on Edge of Wonder. Can you find that one?"
Could you hear Andrea okay just now?
Yeah, a story about a serial killer on Edge of Wonder. I have a couple.
People with paranormal powers. Do you know about any other beings that were there?
Hold on, we can only do so many at once.
It's in the same question. If you can find it.
Well, come over here. Come over here.
Yes, bring the lovely Andrea on. Let's
What?
He said, "Bring
Andrea.
the lovely Andrea on." Yeah, come over here and help us out, Andrea.
Okay, I'll have to-
because I didn't get the second part of that question at all.
Yeah. So, well, here, you know what? I have something I want to play because I wanted to. Well, Andrea is getting some of those together. I'm going to play another clip, and it's actually from the X-Files.
Cool.
But it's from one of the later seasons when they came back in 2018. And the scene is called "The Takeover of America."
Oh, I love that. I love that clip.
Okay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So this. There's a bunch of people that have put this on YouTube, but I'm going to go ahead and play this for those of you that haven't seen this, but this is the scene that resonates with me the most from all of the X-File shows. And here it is. Check this out.
Driven not only by corporate greed, but a darker objective.
The takeover of America.
And then the world itself, by any means necessary, however violent, or cruel, or efficient. By severe drought, brought on by weather wars, conducted secretly using aerial contaminants and high-altitude electromagnetic waves. In a state of perpetual war. To create problem, reaction, solution scenarios to distract, enrage, and enslave American citizens at home. With tools like the Patriot Act and the National Defense Authorization Act, which abridge the Constitution in the name of national security. The militarization of police forces in cities across the U.S., the building of prison camps by the Federal Emergency Management Agency with no stated purpose. The corporate takeover of food and agriculture, pharmaceuticals and healthcare, even the military in clandestine agendas to fatten, dull, sicken, and control a populace already consumed by consumerism.
And I encourage you all to go shopping more.
A government that taps your phone, collects your data, and monitors your whereabouts with impunity. A government preparing to use that data against you when it strikes. And the final takeover begins.
The takeover of America.
By a well-oiled and well-armed multinational group of elites that will cull, kill, and subjugate.
Happening as we sit here.
It's happening all around us.
The other shoe waiting to drop.
It'll probably start on a Friday. The banks will announce a security action necessitating their computers to go offline all weekend.
Digital money will disappear.
They can just steal your money?
Followed by the detonation of strategic electromagnetic pulse bombs to knock out major grids.
What will seem like an attack on America by terrorists or Russia.
Or a simulated alien invasion using alien replica vehicles that exist and are already in use.
An alien invasion of the U.S.
The Russians tried it in '47.
You can't say these things.
I'm going to say them tomorrow.
It's fear-mongering, claptrap isolationist techno-paranoia, so bogus and dangerous and stupid that it borders on treason. Saying these things would be incredibly irresponsible.
It's irresponsible not to say it.
Especially if it's the truth.
Okay, so
That is great.
is it just me, or is a lot of that happening right now?
Well, 95% of it has already occurred, has already happened. And I want to tell you one more thing, Mike, about that clip. I did several months ago. I did a presentation where I made the outrageous prediction that China was about to invade the United States, and in some manner. And this is the thing about prophecies and predictions. We who know the future, we can know that something's going to happen, but what we never know is exactly the method in which it's going to happen. So that I can know this ABC, whatever is going to happen, but it may happen in a completely different way from how I'm predicting and from in something, but it's still the same goal. It still gets to the same place. So I did this presentation that showed and I showed my work and the investigative work that, okay, this is why I believe this. This is why I believe. Here's the clues. And China is about to invade the United States. And I said it was going to, because China can't militarily confront the United States. They can't. No country in the world can now. Cannot do that. So I said China is going to create some kind of huge catastrophe in China, and then send like probably 50 million refugees to the United States, to the West Coast and the East Coast, and just attack us with military age male refugees that supposedly are just poor huddled refugees, and just invade us that way because we won't be able to stop them. And I said, and that was and then right after that occurred, right after I made that prediction in my presentation, the entire Intel community throughout the United States found out that Joe Biden was being pushed, was completely and totally, and its entire Joe Biden family was completely and totally compromised by the Chinese, by the CCP, bribed by them, and blackmailed by them as well, In other words, and that they were pushing this election fraud to try to get him into office. And so, and then it came to me, that's the invasion right there. What do they need to invade at the ground level if they can invade the presidency of the United States?
Exactly.
And have the entire presidency handed over to the Chinese premier, because that's exactly what they're trying to do with Joe Biden, pushing his carcass into the presidency and getting him to be president, because it's going to really mean the Chinese premier is going to be president of the United States. And that's what we're looking at right now. That was the invasion. I just didn't have the correct way that they were going to do it, because this is a much easier way than what I was suggesting. And that's what we're facing. We're facing that right now.
And JFK told us that when he was still alive. He told us that it would happen through infiltration and subversion. And that's exactly what they've been doing, is infiltrating everything. All of our agencies, just like I was talking about how the watch listing guidance was updated, and they took certain people off and put certain people on a terrorist watch list, which had nothing to do with terrorism, but had to do with supporting our country. And that's exactly what they did. And I've been hearing reports, and I'm trying not to go too much into that, but I'm hearing things. You hear things. You learn to observe patterns and different things that kind of connect together. And I'm hearing about Chinese troops at the Canadian border. And I also read that a former general in the Chinese military, in the Chinese army, I believe, who has a private business now, purchased 140,000 acres right at the border of Texas and Mexico, right next to one of our Air Force bases. And it all kind of goes together. I think they almost pulled it off, but I'm pretty damn sure that whole plan is being canceled as we speak.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, the entire Bundy Ranch episode that occurred a while back, that whole thing was because the Chinese government wanted to buy all that ranch land right around there, and they were having their minions, which was Senator Harry Reid and Hillary and several others, work to try to steal all that land from the Bundys at that point. That's what.
And man, they really went after those guys. Those guys are originally from this area where I live in. I'm in Avondale. I tell people where I live. I don't care. I'm in Avondale. Tullison, I believe, is where they're from originally, here in Arizona. And but they put them through they targeted them heavily, and not because they were doing anything wrong, but just because they wanted something that they had for a nefarious reason.
And I think that's going to be uncovered coming up once we start arresting these. Once the treason stuff starts going forward, and the Article 3 courts, and all of these things that we need. We need these things to go forward. And I think a lot of these, like the Bundy fiasco that occurred, all of these are going to be eventually uncovered, and the corruption is going to be put to the light of day.
And it feels like we're getting closer and closer to that. I don't know what the military court looks like annually, but it's cleared out from today. Their schedule is completely cleared from today until March 14th.
It was since August.
They've had that information up since May.
No. It's been cleared out since then. When you looked at it, it was just that day.
Oh, okay.
But it's been that way. It's been cleared out since I think August. I would say.
All right. It does seem like we're getting closer and closer to that. I think that the declassification of the FISA court, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act court, is a big deal in all of this, because I think a lot of this has been hidden in that court, the unconstitutional court that doesn't allow American citizens due process to know who they've been or what they've been accused of or who they've been accused by, or to defend themselves in a court of law. And I think a lot of people have been put through the FISA court. I think General Flynn was. I think that they put President Trump through the FISA court. That information hasn't come out yet, but I really think that they use that as a weapon against him. And I think that I got put through it. Not putting myself on the same level as those guys, because I'm definitely not, but there's a lot of people that have been been targeted in that way. 10 of those judges in the FISA court were appointed by Obama during his administration. And so they could basically just rubber stamp, pop, 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 put whoever they want through that court, and then take away all of the rights of those citizens and treat them like terrorists. And the things that they do, man, if I hadn't gone through this personally, I would have a tough time believing somebody saying the same things that I do, the things that they do to some American citizens, that have been put in some of these situations. It's
crazy. I was one of the first FBI agents in the field to work FISA cases when the FISC was created, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court, which goes along with the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act.
Yes.
And it was implemented in the field, and it's a freaking a star chamber, because it's just judges that are finding you guilty of being a terrorist and so forth, but there's no defense allowed. There's no other side allowed. It's an ex parte court. It's a one-sided court, and that's not supposed to be allowed in America. But the only reason it was allowed was because the court was never, ever supposed to deal with American citizens. It was always supposed to be with non-U.S. persons, foreign nationals, and people who were agents of a foreign power. So never, ever American citizens under any conditions. And that was the whole point of the court. That was the whole point, because it was done for international terrorists and what else? And agents of a foreign power. That's it. That's all those are the only people we were supposed to be going after with that. And since it's been shown that that American citizens are now gone after in the FISA court, the FISA court should be disbanded, and the whole freaking FISA Act should be repealed, and they should just get rid of all of that. Just get rid of it, because it's shown that it's going to be abused no matter what.
Yeah, and so. Can you tell us? Let's see. You know about the FISA court. Can you tell us the difference between FISA Section 702 and FISA 12333? Do you know the difference between those?
No, I don't know the specific sections.
Okay. I've done a lot of research into it, and I know that those are two different parts of FISA, Section 702 and 12333. And coincidentally, when I got here to this address and I got a PO box, they gave me PO box 702. Imagine that coincidence.
Coincidence? I think not.
They think they're funny. So, anyway, okay. Well, I'll have to research more into that. I knew it at one time, but there's only so much room in here, and as more information goes in, some falls out.
Good. And don't ask me any more questions like that, please, Michael.
Okay, no problem. Sorry.
Between section 4/1.2.5 and section 48692 B of Article 2. I'm sorry.
Right.
Go ahead.
Andrea wrote down a couple questions from our chat here, and let's see. These are for you. So, do we know what operations go on in Bradshaw Mountains? Do we know what operations go on in Bradshaw Mountains? I don't know anything about that. Do you?
No, is that in Montana?
I don't know.
I'm not sure
where are the Bradshaw Mountains? Okay, that was way up in the. Okay, so I'm sorry, whoever asked that question. Neither John nor I know anything about the Bradshaw Mountains. Next question. Have you ever spoke? Okay, well, yeah, John and I weren't really talking about targeted individual stuff here, so this would be directed towards me. Have you ever spoke to a TI who claims to be an abductee? Is it common? Well, okay,
maybe not necessarily.
Maybe not necessarily a targeted individual, but
somebody
yeah. Have you interviewed or investigated people that have claimed to be abducted?
Oh yeah, all the time. There's there's movement next to your microphone, I think.
Oh, that's my piece of paper. That's
Okay.
me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've had and I talk about them. I talk about them in this book, The Extra Dimensionals. Let me see if I can. Okay. Oops.
Back up just a little bit. Up there we go, right there.
The extra dimension. Oh, this is so backwards. Okay.
Yep, there. Now we can see it.
Extra dimensionals, true tales and concepts of alien visitors, and I talk about some of my most, most famous to me abductees, people that I spoke to, in particular, one called Martha X. She was a lady right here in Arizona she was a refugee from one of these outreach programs where you have these gurus who and I'm trying to be careful not to say his name, who bring together people to do a program of outreach to alien visitors. Okay, and Martha X was a young lady who was in one of these groups. She loved her guru. She wanted to do everything that he said, and one day she went home to her apartment, and as she was doing this procedure to do outreach, and when she was with the group, it didn't work. Then she went home on her own, and she was contacted by a voice that came to her and told her that the outreach is here for her now, and it instructed her to take off all of her clothing, any nail polish, anything that was artificial on her body of any kind, anything at all. And she did that. Then she laid on her bed and she disappeared. She disappeared to another reality where she was on a metallic table, but it was metallic, but it was yielding, kind of like it was weird. It was like spongy, like it was soft. It was metal, but it was soft in a weird way. And she saw there were these contraptions above her, and she went ahead and then they had some grays that were puttering around her, and they were talking to each other, and they didn't talk to her. They were kind of ignoring her, very fearful. She was in a lot of fear, and they just didn't seem to care. And then they went ahead and did the experimentation on her body, and it was pretty harrowing. It's a pretty harrowing experience for her, and she was affected in a very intimate way. Let's put it that way. And and like I said, that's the story of Martha X, and she came out of it. She came out of it and got back to the real world, and then she had implants. She had implants that were throughout her body, and that were creating sometimes they would create buzzing, like a buzzing for her. And she went back to the group, and she complained to the leader, and she was summarily thrown out of the group. She was told that because she had negative feelings towards the alien visitors, because she had fear, which is the ultimate negative. This is what the guru told her, because she had fear towards them, which is it's the most prohibited thing you can exhibit towards them, because it's the ultimate negative energy. And because of that, she said, he told her that she had a very negative experience when she was probed. She was probed very in a very rough manner that she was not happy about. And so she was thrown out of the group. She came back to her life, but after that, she actually became a great artist. It was after all these harrowing experiences she had. She had been an artist before, but nothing really good. But her abilities, she became a famous artist out of Arizona, and she's actually a famous artist today. And her paintings now go for like $10,000, and that I think is the reason why when I interviewed her and I spoke to her, and I was like, and I could see that she was like kind of suffering a little bit with these implants. When I told her, let's go to Dr. Roger Lear and have those things removed. let's have your implants removed. She was always like, no, I don't think I want that. I'm fine. I'm fine with my implants. And she wanted to keep her implants. And the reason is because because she believed that the implants increased her creative powers, increased her abilities, whatever abilities she had. And that's what she actually believed. And I've seen other abductees who felt the same way.
Interesting. Because I talked to a lot of targeted individuals that talk about having implants in their body. I think it's very highly likely that I have them in my body. You and I actually know somebody, and we've seen their medical records together of them being scanned. Desiree.
Whoa.
When
Yes.
I met you, I went with Desiree, and she brought her medical records with her, being scanned and showing where the implants in her body are. But there's different theories that we have about that. That some of these are from like SAPs or USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs, where non-consensual human experiment. Somebody is abducted by, I don't know which acronym, CIA or some kind of black project kind of people, and they want to experiment on them and put these different things in their body and communicate with them like like, I don't know if you've heard me talk about Dr. Robert Duncan before. He graduated from Harvard, worked for the CIA and DARPA, other like DOD acronyms, and he created different neural technology like voice to skull technology, which has been proven to be used in the Iraq war, where they literally beamed voices into some of the combatants' heads and said, "This is all, lay down your weapons and disassemble them." And then they did disassemble them. And a lot of people complain of hearing voices in their head, and they're automatically called crazy. But there are patents for all of this technology. There are patents for synthetic telepathy, patents for voice to skull technology, remote neural monitoring, where they can literally read your mind, read your thoughts. And this technology has been around for a long time. That would be a good study for you to actually check out. Dr. Robert Duncan. He's written a couple books. Project Soul Catcher is one. How to Tame a Demon is one of his other books. But yeah, it might match up with some of those cases that you've worked on too. And I'm not saying it wasn't those guys, but I'm just saying there's a lot of different plausible possibilities that. But yeah, that's an interesting one. I wonder if the trauma that the lady that you were talking about, that she experienced, if that's what opened up her creativity. Because I know a lot of people that go through traumatic events, it opens up channels, it opens up things that you didn't know that you were capable of before. And that's actually happened with me. There's some things that I've become capable of doing that I didn't know that I had those capabilities because of the long-term trauma that I've been through. And that's interesting. Maybe after this you can tell me who it was. I'd like to check out her artwork.
Well, let me tell you this. Martha X told me exactly what you just said. She said her implants did not come from the alien visitors. That her implants came from these unacknowledged government programs who kidnapped her as soon as she got back. Who kidnapped her as soon as she got back, and then put the implants and were harassing her, and then put the implants in her to monitor her and harass her. And that was it. And that was what she told me. But the reason that didn't ring true to me is because once I said to her, well, then let's get the implants removed.
Mm-hmm.
Then she was like, oh no, I can't lose them. I can't do that. And so if she really believed that the implants were from the government and were created to harass her, then why wouldn't she want to have them removed?
Tell you what.
So I personally believe she does believe that they're from the alien visitors. That's
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of people that, well, I'm sure, but there's a lot of people that complain about being implanted, and there's people that have taken their own implants out and they're like, here's what they look like. Right. But that's one of the ways that a lot of different people that I've spoken with will say that they're being communicated with through, say, like a cell phone tower. So there's a chip in our cell phone, and we can send a video to somebody on the other side of the world. So say somebody has a chip in their body and the brain has no firewall, then possibly the cell phone tower down the street, it would not be that tough to comprehend that they could connect with the human body, in that same fashion. And it's a bad situation, because the people that this technology is being used to experiment on them, it's very highly possible that I'm not saying, I shouldn't even say it that way. This stuff has been used on me. I've experienced this personally, except for the V2K. I don't hear voices in my head. If you complain to the police, if you call the FBI, if you call the Department of Homeland Security, you contact a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and you say, hey, this is going on with me, boom, 30-day hold in a mental hospital. They could care less what the technology, U.S. patents, or any of that are. And if you take the Minnesota multiphasic inventory and you answer any of the questions, it's a 600 question test. You might have taken it back in the day, a long time ago. A lot of police, correctional officers take this test. It evaluates your personality and different things like that. If you answer some of these questions truthfully, and you've been through some of this stuff, they automatically say you're delusional or schizophrenic, even though, like I said, like these programs exist and these patents exist and everything, and they will not look at that type of evidence. They just automatically go, well, you're a crazy guy, sorry. And it's tough for some of these people, because they're being tortured with some of this technology. So anyway, I keep going down that road.
But you have to know when to answer truthfully and when not to answer truthfully. And in that vein, I will tell people right now that now, if you go to be an FBI agent, as part of the psychological, they do a psych eval, they do a psych test and all that. Now they have added in the qualification psych eval the John DeSouza questions to make sure that they don't get another John DeSouza in the FBI, which will ask you, do you believe in UFOs? Do you believe in alien visitors? Do you believe in ghosts? And they go through every paranormal phenomena. And then if you say yes to one of those, it's like, okay, well, have you seen a UFO? Have you seen a ghost? And it gets worse from there. So people just have to know when to answer truthfully and when that may not be the greatest idea.
Wow. That's tough for some of us. I've been told before that I'm kindergarten honest.
Yeah, that's not a good thing. Don't do that. Don't do that, Mike.
It's tough because I like to be a truthful person, and it sucks having to try to dance around, some of these tests and systems just to get through their system. You want to be honest with that. And actually, I took the MMPI, and the first thing that the test administrator said was, this test shows that you are without a doubt the most honest person that you can be. I have no doubt in my mind that you are going to be lying to me. But then he said, but since you told me that people follow you around town sometimes, that you might be delusional, or And I go, okay, I have video of this. I confirm these people and stuff like that. And he goes, well, it's on the test. They're not going to change the test. So it's quite the conundrum.
There you go. There you go.
All right. Well, Andrea looks like she's trying to tell me something here. Do we have another question for John?
You need to widen that screen out so the lovely Andrea is in there.
You can read it too.
There she is.
There she is. That's better. That's better. Hi, Andrea.
Hello.
I say your name right. Andrea.
Andrea. I answered both. It's Andrea, though.
Andrea.
Have either of you, Michael or John, ever heard of Malachi Martin? The connections of all of this, plus Lady of Fatima, also George Washington's visions, Pope Leo the 13th, all connect.
Oh yeah, those are all the the visions of apocalyptic end times and how things are going to happen when the United States is at the end, basically, and the whole world. And yeah, all those visions tend to corroborate each other, and they're pretty good. But like I said, we can know what's going to happen, but we don't know the way in which it's going to happen. And so that can be a very big variable, huge variable in a lot of these things.
All right. Okay.
There are so many comments in here. It makes it difficult for me to read the comments and listen at the same time.
Well, this is a good time to play one more clip from
okay, and then I'll jump on the comments.
from 1,000 Pieces, the documentary 1,000 Pieces. So let's see. I played. Okay, so here is John. This is actually this is one that I made a TikTok video for that got a lot. Whoa, there go the fireworks. We're doing fireworks here in Avondale. My dog loves them. All right, perfect time to play this clip. Here we go.
JFK said, "I'm going to take the CIA and break them into 1,000 pieces and scatter them to the winds." These agencies have only gotten worse and worse. There's been no accountability. These operations that they have run against the American people are completely public. The stuff is in the public domain. It's known. Operation Northwoods that the CIA did against the American people. Operation Mockingbird to use elements in the mainstream media. MK Ultra.
The Kennedy assassination was when so much of MK Ultra was put into society because the trauma was used on people. Whenever trauma occurs, people become easily led, highly suggestible. So whenever we're having trauma in our society, people need to safeguard their minds. They need to double check. They need to research. They need.
Okay.
Nice.
I like that clip because it resonates with me a lot. And I talk about MK Ultra a lot, how it's used on an individual level and on a mass level, and how I've experienced this personally. And now I'm seeing a lot of the tactics of MK Ultra getting more and more prevalent in society.
Oh yeah, I mean those tactics are being used against all of us with this these lockdown tactics and these COVID-19 response. Where they're using these mind control phrases. You gotta do it to protect society, to make your grandpa safe. Wear your mask, even though the rest of us, or everybody else is wearing masks. So why do I have to wear a mask if you're protected with the mask? But then also keep your 6-foot distancing. All of this stuff, if people will find out one day, all of these tactics originally come from the CCP, from the Chinese Communist Party that has been developing these tactics. They do not come from medical tactics or medical things from the CDC. They did not originate these things. These things
Psychological torture.
Yes, there's psychological torture. Exactly.
Used on people in internment camps and other prison camps, giving them arbitrary rules that the person knows in their mind aren't. They have no value or basis, but they have to go.
Yes.
And sorry, go ahead.
And make them wear muzzles for no reason. They're being punished that they can't talk and they know that there's no reason. That's part of the torture. Just like people know that these masks do nothing to stop any virus. That's part of the torture.
Did you see my TikTok video before it was removed about the mask? If you might have. So okay, so I was a firefighter. I was trained in hazardous materials. I worked in something
I did
called Bernie, chemical, biological, radioactive, nuclear, and explosive. We wore gas masks. A lot of people in the military are trained in CBRNE. And that type of mask would protect you from a virus because of the particulate matter. Won't go through a proper seal if you have, if you've shaved and everything. These medical masks that people are wearing protect, it says right on the damn box, they protect a size 3 particulate matter and larger. So bacteria, smoke, stuff like that, it'll protect from that, unless it's going through the sides or the top, which nobody wears it correctly anyway. You need a different type of mask. A virus is 0.3 particulate matter. So if you have that regular medical mask on that everybody's wearing, and you're using that to stop a virus is going to go right through it, or through the side. So it's completely arbitrary. And I believe that it's for, so if people are told to stay 6 feet apart and to wear a mask, how hard is it or inconvenient is it for you to have a conversation with somebody at the grocery store, at the convenience store? And how does information travel quickly through word of mouth, through people speaking in their community? So they don't want us talking about this kind of stuff. They just want us to shut up and be sheep. They want to see sheep surrender. Where did I hear that from?
See sheep surrender. That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
And they want us to just go along with, what the bullshit that they're feeding us. And a lot of us realize that. And so TikTok removed that video, actually.
You are Michael, you are an artist on TikTok. I am amazed. The stuff that you create, the stuff you do on there, it is amazing. I mean, you are so skilled on there. Even if TikTok is shadow banning you now or whatever, you should not leave TikTok, because that stuff is amazing. You have in there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I wish you were the CEO of TikTok instead of the lady that is, because apparently they're not too happy with my videos. They've removed like 11 of them. I filed appeals, and I show, whenever I make a video, I show evidence, I show proof of what I'm saying to back it up.
I'm so happy you said I should be CEO of TikTok. I'm ready. I have my little thing here that says CEO, Chief Executive Officer, John DeSouza. So please, if we can make that happen, Michael, please let's do that, because at least I have this. I'm ready.
Well, we got you got my vote too. We got to get them out of there first. Those people that are censoring free speech. We've got Jack at Twitter, we've got Mark over at Facebook, and then and a lot of people don't know this, and I don't care if I say her name. I'm not doxing her. Everything is public information. The CEO of TikTok is I just forgot her damn name. Oh, you're laughing at the last name.
Your papa.
Vanessa. It's Vanessa.
Sorry.
Papas. So I call her Vanessa Potatoes because in
Mike
Spanish,
told me a joke earlier
papas
that
are
made me
potatoes. So I can call her Vanessa Potatoes. But yeah, she is the she's the CEO of TikTok, and she's doing basically the same thing that Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey have been doing. They're removing free speech, and they're saying that they're removing videos for bullying and harassing, or for wrong information, false information and stuff like that. Yet I don't know if you've heard of this. There's different sections of TikTok that come up in the algorithms. They got cartel TikTok. Right. Have you seen cartel TikTok?
No, like drug cartels?
Like drug cartel in Mexico. There's people loading truckloads full of kilos of cocaine and boats running from the Coast Guard, and they're having shootouts in the middle of the streets. And there's videos of that floating around on TikTok, and girls in G-strings shaking their butt and all that stuff, and all of that is fine.
Oh my God.
But when I tell people how a mask operates, they remove that video. So there's something wrong there.
Okay, I have a couple questions. Can you turn your chat back on?
Okay. We're getting word from the boss here.
Are you listening to me? Yes.
There's some questions coming in. Sorry, we're not trying to ignore you guys. We're just going off on some tangents here and having fun calling the CEO of TikTok potatoes.
TikTok. Actually, isn't there a prison TikTok?
There is a prison TikTok as well. So people that in prison that get cell phones into prison are making TikTok videos.
Yeah, because you were trending when you did the video on me. I was told you were trending on conservative TikTok, right? Is that correct?
Well, I guess that's what they're calling it. Yeah, there's they call it conservative TikTok or conspiracy theory TikTok.
Okay.
It doesn't. There's nothing that pops up and says trending and then gives it a title or anything like that. People just kind of self-title them, But it works on an algorithm, and the people that that engage with that video, comment, share, like, seem to be in certain groups and stuff like that. So it does.
Yeah, because when it happened, a bunch of young kids called me and told me, hey, you're trending #1 on conservative TikTok. So apparently that is one of the.
I wonder if there's a way to actually see that. I'm still kind of new. I've only been on there for a month. So, but yeah, that video,
You've been doing the stuff you're doing, and you've only been on TikTok for a month?
I've been on there a month. I got to a month and a half max. I set up a creator fund so I could try to make a little bit of money on TikTok. That kicked in. I made it to 127.3 thousand followers and have over 8 million views on my videos. And just two days ago, actually, they stopped it all. So I'm no longer allowed. When I look at my when I look at my analytics on TikTok, it shows me my followers each day, how many new followers I have, and each day it spans from 2,000 to 4,000 new followers every single day. Well, the day before yesterday, I got 154 followers. Yesterday, I got 0. So TikTok is not allowing anyone new to follow me. My views went down; they plummeted to just a couple thousand views in a day, and it's not showing that I'm making any more income. Which I wasn't making a ton of money on TikTok, and I can't. Part of the user agreement says I can't say how much I was making, but we'll just say this month I would have been able to pay for groceries and pay the car insurance. That's about it. But they've cut all that off. So hardly any new views, no new followers, and it looks like I'm not allowed to make money on TikTok anymore. So, which is pretty terrible because I'm just sharing the truth. I'm trying to help people, put positive information out that will help people, and my livelihood is suffering for it. I struggle every month being targeted. They go after everything. They go after your assets and everything. And I thought, you know what, this is awesome. Finally, I can do something, make a little bit of money, get the truth out there, get my story out there. And, it's kind of looking up, and boom, that was ripped away from me 2 days ago. So, but that's all right. I won't give up.
Okay, you got a lot of questions.
Not the first time. So, all right, enough about me. There's questions. People send questions in here.
They keep getting. Do you have any intel on Trump's next chess move? Do you think it will come down to the Insurrection Act?
Okay, so somebody's asking about the Insurrection Act. What do you think about that, John?
Well, the first part was what's his next chess move? I think that his next chess move is happening right now, which is it looks more and more like it's to expose the Supreme Court as being part of this corruption, of all of this corruption, and he appears to be basically doing everything to expose them as being part of everything that's been going on, and really to put it to the light of day, and then I think it will be clear. It'll be clear to everyone that the Insurrection Act and going with the military is going to be the only option left. So yeah, I think he will use the Insurrection Act after that, and basically either run the election again, which I don't think he will do that, or just have one person declared the winner and state to state on a state to state basis, and that's what I think he'll be doing with the Insurrection Act also.
I agree with you 100% on that. Watching what's been transpiring over the last few years, they're having to allow all of these people carry out the crimes that they knew that they were going to carry out to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt, because they couldn't say ahead of time, hey, we think these people are going to do this, and then arrest them because they thought they were going to do it. They have to let them do the different things that they're doing. And that goes not just with the election, but so many other caveats, like what I've been reporting on for a few years now. They have to see the standard operating procedures and let these people carry out the crimes they're committing, and then boom, they got them. So
exactly.
Here's a quick question.
Okay, next one.
If FISA was terminated, would that also benefit other countries with the same problems like Canada and the illegal surveillance?
That's a very good question.
I think it would, because the United States is always the leader in doing things like this, and it would benefit them if they could get rid of the globalist leadership that they have right now, and then also get rid of their FISA system as well. And that's what we're shooting for. That's what we're going for. I mean, I've been spending some time with the Japanese, and they just recently were able to get rid of their prime minister, who was directly related, I'm told, to the Dragon family, who's a big part of the CABAL, and also part of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. And so
Wow.
these things are happening. They're happening around the world too, and all the other countries are also struggling with the same things that we are.
Yeah, the people in my wheelhouse, the group that I've been talking about, they complain about these targeting type things that are happening all around the world, and I talk about what's going on here in the United States and with me, because that's my experience. But yeah, it's not just here in the United States; it's everywhere, and that proves to us pretty much that this is a global thing. This isn't just here in the United States or just in a certain country. And draining the swamp is going to be a global thing.
I've had several people ask about Project Bluebeam. What are your...
So John showed us in his presentation, when I met with him, a bunch of different videos that people sent from all over the world of these like directed energy weapons. And so that's a directed energy weapon. That's different from Project Bluebeam, but
right. But similar though, and I think that the Bluebeam technology is going to be used everywhere that directed energy weapons are used. Like, for instance, the 9/11 attacks in New York City. I believe that was a lot of Bluebeam technology, and also directed energy weapons as well, and a lot of other stuff that the CABAL has that's breakaway technology that the nations just don't have. And so I think we saw a lot of it there, and and we're going to see that stuff again when it comes time for fake alien invasion.
That's one of my other videos that TikTok removed. I used a filter that makes your face look like an alien, and I was trying to be funny. And I said, if you see little green men running around and spaceships flying around, don't forget that Project Bluebeam exists, and the RCA has held the patent for hologram technology since 1971. Wow. And you can look up the patent, RCA. Wow. I had a buddy named Hawkeye when I lived back in Fresno, California, that I think he was a secret squirrel. You can't tell you everything, but he worked on a lot of high-tech stuff, guidance systems for the Navy, etc. But I got some of, when he passed away from mesothelioma. When he passed away, I got some of the things from his estate, some of his photograph collections and different things but he made this little pamphlet about hologram technology and how it works. And he typed it out on a typewriter back in the 70s. And he talked about how hologram technology could very possibly be used as a weapon in the future.
Yeah.
And so,
and in keeping with that, when the fake alien invasion comes, they'll show us the ships. We'll be able to see the ships, but we will never see the aliens themselves. We'll never be allowed to see them. And if you want to know, and if you want to see exactly what I'm talking about, you need to go see an old series called Colony. And it is, I think it's on Netflix and other places too. But it's just the word colony. That's it. Because the alien visitors supposedly come and they make colonies out of the districts, the federal districts of the United States and everywhere else around the world too. And that's it. And you see the invasion, you see the ships, you see the destruction. The destruction will be real, by the way. It's just the aliens themselves that will not be real, because this is going to be run by the CABAL, basically. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, that just like they've done with, like we're talking about many other things. And it's so interesting how how things have transpired over time where they show us the truth in movies, in TV series, different things like that, but lie to us on the news. And then when you realize that the news is lying to you, which I watched in person, I saw the fake news happening right in front of my face. I worked side by side with congressmen, senators, governors, generals, and I watched fake news broadcast being created. And I was one of the guys going, well, that's messed up. Why are we lying to the public? Then I learned about the Smith-Mundt Act and, using propaganda against our own citizens, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So, but then, so many things that I've experienced personally, I'll see in movies that then people will say, oh, well, that's crazy. That's just in a movie. And it seems like that is part of the game plan to discredit anyone talking about things that they don't want people to, know that they exist. They throw it in a movie and go, oh, you live in a movie, huh?
Exactly. Yeah, I write about that in my first book, The Power Investigators, about how Hollywood is basically just working hand in hand with the cabal, and they're receiving orders all the time. And they take these topics, whatever topic they're fed, and they freeze it into a context of bizarreness. That's it. So that nobody can ever talk about the topic as a serious thing ever again. Because, it was in that movie, right? Yeah, it was in that movie. Yeah, exactly.
Just like another thing I learned from you, the term conspiracy theory was coined by the CIA in 1967 when people started investigating the murder of JFK, and to stigmatize that term, to make people think, oh, a conspiracy, that's like ghosts or some other, some other thing, and not want to talk about it in public. When all a conspiracy is two people. I always use this example when somebody goes, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. I go, okay, so if two people are sitting in the parking lot of a convenience store, of a gas station, and they're talking between themselves and they're trying to figure out a plan how to go rob that convenience store, they just conspired to commit a crime. That's as simple as what a conspiracy is. So just imagine more people with more capital, more more power, committing bigger crimes. It's just a larger conspiracy, and but so many people have been conditioned to just anytime you talk about something that the mainstream narrative readers aren't telling you, or the mainstream narrative readers are telling you, if you go outside of that box, oh, conspiracy theory.
Exactly.
So conditioned. Exactly. All right, what else we got going on here?
There was one up here that I found that I wanted to read, and they keep refreshing. So.
Oh, okay. All right.
I know there was one at the bottom that just came up that I'll ask real quick. Okay, where did it go? Is our government already going back and forth to Mars or other planets? Is there other life somewhere?
I don't know about our government, but I do believe that the cabal has a secret space program where they are traveling back and forth to Mars and to possibly other places as well. And to the second part, they asked about, is there life somewhere? Life isn't us. Yes, there is, but it's not in our dimensional space. It is in other levels of existence. So in other words, we will be able to get there someday, but not in a straight line, but sideways. We'll be able to teleport sideways to these other worlds, to see them, to investigate them. And that's how it's going to be, because they're not out in our space. They're not out in our solar system, the next galaxy over. It's just not there. It's sideways from here. That's what I learned from the FBI.
I noticed a few things regarding that. So the old stories about Jim Morrison's dad worked with something like that. Do you know anything about that? No? Okay. So I believe it's Agora Hills, California, near Malibu, there was an Air Force base where they were said to have jump rooms where they were doing this type of thing. And coincidentally, that base was shut down and time passed. And this guy named Jared Leto actually purchased that property with that old Air Force base on it, where they had these supposed jump rooms. Do you know who Jared Leto is?
He's the actor, right?
He's an actor, singer and actor. And do you know what the name of his band was?
No, what was the name of his band?
It was 30 Seconds to Mars is the name of his band.
Coincidence?
I don't know. I don't know. You know, I just put these things, and it's kind of interesting that guy that was the lead singer of a band called 30 Seconds to Mars purchased an old military base that was said to have jump rooms.
Michael, you have like a million stories like that. I think you should cart when I say that and just use that and play it every time that you have one of those stories. Coincidence? I think not. Just cart it and use it every single time.
All right. Sounds good.
Speaking of that, I've heard you say that.
Okay,
before.
so Tyler Ferguson has a comment or a question here. I'll just comment. Tyler Ferguson says that Lockheed Skunk Works director, it's quoting Lockheed, of course it refreshed, quoting Lockheed Skunk Works director saying, we already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black projects. And I'll finish that quote. And he said it would take an act of God to get that information out to the public. And the guy that said that was the second director of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. His name was Ben Rich.
Wow.
So he
how do you know all that, Michael? I demand to know.
I wish I could tell you that somebody just told me that, but you know, I focus in on a lot of things that might connect to maybe my family's past, and yeah, I don't look. My dad took me out to Lockheed Martin Skunk Works when I was a little kid. I've been out there, and I remember going through confirmation. I got sent to a Lutheran church, and we had to go through confirmation, kind of like in the Catholic church. They have catechism, so I would go through these classes, and they would give us these handout books that we were supposed to be doing homework in, and for some reason, I wasn't doing my homework. I would always get in trouble for not doing that homework. I was drawing flying cars, these really aerodynamic spaceship type looking cars with flames coming out of the back and stuff like that. And I don't specifically have any memories of seeing that type of stuff, but my drawings were pretty detailed. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe it was just from my imagination, but you know, having the people in my family work for different places and being certain places when I was a kid, you know, maybe it's
Did your dad know Boyd Bushman, the scientist who worked for Skunk Works and a whole bunch of other places? Boyd Bushman, the guy who handled the materials coming out of Roswell in 1947.
Not that I know of.
No.
Not that I know of. My dad told me he worked private security with Lockheed Martin. So he was responsible for security type stuff with the B-1 bomber and the SR-71 and different things like that. But that being said, possibly a lot of people that worked at places like that had their cover story and said, oh, well, I'm just this. And then they possibly did something like that. My dad subscribed to Popular Mechanics. He was amazingly meticulous with his tools, the way that he put them in his garage. His car was always spotless and perfectly run. He had a Toyota Celica that went for like 400,000 miles, you know, so just kind of adding some stuff up. I was thinking, was he possibly like an engineer out there or something like that? And he just had to say he was a security guard, or, you know, I don't know. I don't know the answers to everything, but I'm trying to figure it out.
Michael, somebody wants to know, why don't you read your DMs on Twitter, Tyler Ferguson? DMs.
Twitter?
Yeah, you don't read your
Direct
DMs.
message?
Yeah.
Is he sliding into my DMs? Let's see.
He's trying to.
On Twitter. Okay, so let's check DMs on Twitter. And there's nothing there.
I had somebody else say earlier that they sent you something.
Nope, I don't see any DMs in my Twitter from anyone.
So nonprofit. The question is, John, is there anything you would like to inform the viewers of tonight's show that you would like to share with us? Yes, I would like to share with tonight's viewers, above all things, that I know we have a high proportion of patriots here, and I want everyone to know that President Trump is going to be president, and we are most likely going into a period of the Insurrection Act being activated, of troops going all across this country, and our troops being used everywhere, and we're going to be seeing some counter assaults from the cabal and the Democratic Party. I mean, a lot of the Democratic Party is going to be arrested and put into the pipeline. So a lot of those guys will be gone. But cabal elements and the globalist elements of Soros that he has working here, all of his groups. People think that Soros only has Black Lives Matter and Antifa working for him. Soros has
So much more than that. Absolutely.
Hundreds of groups that have similar names to Antifa and Black Lives Matter, and they are all over this country, and they're in other countries too. And they are going to be wreaking havoc everywhere because they get paid a lot of money, because George Soros is a central banker. He's got your money. And so he is one of those central bankers that's going to be taken down when the moment is right. And so the last thing that I wanted to tell you guys, that I'm also going to be getting a message to President Trump as well, is that the period that we're going into, it's a revolutionary period. It's going to be like a period like the French Revolution, when all the powers of the world came against France and tried to basically take over France and just get rid of it because it had been such a problem to the world. And the French army had to fight against all the powers, all the global powers of the world, basically, for survival. And out of that period is where Napoleon came out of. Napoleon came out of that period, and rightfully so, because Napoleon was ultimately a great force for democracy and democratization of the world. But we're in a similar period right now. And so the final thing I want to tell your people, and I'm going to tell President Trump eventually also, is that we're going to have to be ready to serve in some capacity in our communities to help this revolution when it comes. No one is going to get out of this. Like Jim Morrison used to say, nobody gets out of here alive. Well, nobody's going to get out of this unscathed. Everyone's going to have to get off the fence and participate in some way or another. And we're going to have the military basically all over this country, everywhere, in everyone's communities, and rightfully so, because we need them. But there's probably also going to be a need for civilian boards, civilian councils in all of our areas, some kind of civilian oversight that's going to have to be put in all of our communities. And people like the people who watch the show, people like Michael Barden, are going to be needed in that role, because I absolutely believe that we're going to have to participate in this when it all goes down, because this is going to be for the future of the entire country.
Well, I'm ready.
That's
I'm ready
where
for
it
that.
really helps to know what your strengths are. What are you good at? Some people are way more organized than other people. Some people are, just figure out what your talents are. What are your strengths, and what can you contribute? Because
you will be needed, possibly here in the near future. I just want to expound on something you said, John, because what you're saying is exactly right. With the George Soros thing, people don't realize how far his reach is. Yeah. And he operates by divide and conquer. So not only is he funding Antifa and BLM and a bunch of other, quote, philanthropist type groups that aren't about philanthropy at all, he's also paid millions of dollars to get certain county sheriffs elected, certain DAs elected in those areas where Antifa and BLM are operating, to make sure that those people are not, one, arrested, or if they do get arrested, they're not prosecuted. And, there's this mainstream narrative of all of them are anti-police, and those certain police are anti-Antifa and BLM, and some of them are playing on the same team. And those are the people that have infiltrated our systems, and they're working together. So he's paid for both sides, and a lot of other entities that are complicit in that, in this, the bad actors, the LARPs, the live action role players, the people that are involved in some of these stage skits that are used for social engineering. And so I think one of the best ways for that to be wiped out is Executive Order 13818. It was signed in December of 2017. The executive order against government corruption, human trafficking. People involved in that will have their assets seized, and that's a lot of this is being moved forward because people are being paid. They're getting money. If the money was pulled out from underneath them, they would just stop what they were doing, and they would have to focus on making a living by starting a business or doing something else. So I'm really hoping that happens, because that will put a big dent in people fighting. There won't be so much of an incentive to go out on the streets and loot, riot, and burn, and So I'm really hoping that happens. Oh, so another question.
I saw this earlier in the TikTok chat, and I keep going back to it because I want to ask this. I want your opinion on this. This is coming from me too. What do you think about the influx of self-proclaimed time travelers sent to help us prevent our demise? That was from a TikTok question.
I think most of them are fake. I don't think there's any real credence that can be given to most of these people. A lot of them are just, just saying what people want to hear, and they're not people with any credibility that I can see at all. That's what I think.
I concur. But who am I? So,
and I wouldn't want to use names, but I mean, basically, come on. We're just, the only time traveler that I know of is Baron Trump, obviously. If you know about the book.
I wouldn't have chosen the word time traveler.
Right. Yeah, it was an interesting book by what was that guy's name that wrote the book, The Last President?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, the one that shows Baron Trump.
Okay, that's a question I won't get into.
Okay, well, we probably have to let John get going here sometime soon. How long have we been on here? Of course, this thing doesn't tell me.
There was a question on here that I wanted to go back to because they kept repeating it. It was something about the secret space program and.
Oh. Okay, well, you're thinking about that. Somebody asked a pretty good question, and I've actually talked about this a couple times. They're asking, is there a possibility that the grid will go down? Electricity, water system, internet. We keep hearing about 10 days of darkness and not 100% sure like what that means. Is there a possibility that, say we do go into martial law, will they shut down all of that to facilitate the mass arrests?
It could be done to facilitate the mass arrest, or it could be done because the CABAL uses the electromagnetic interference bombs that would be distributed around the country, and Q, which possibly has involvement from a quantum computer, already knows that that's going to happen. And that's why Q may be talking about the 10 days of darkness, because they know the moves that are done are going to be done by the CABAL, and they've already put them into the intelligence reports as far as that goes. So it could come from either side. Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, John's talking about an EMP, electromagnetic pulse, that would take out all electronics if you don't have them in Faraday box, little metal box, cell phones, two-way radio, stuff like that. It would destroy all of that, and then there's no communication. Right. So,
but if the military is all over the place already, if the military is everywhere already, one thing we know the military is excellent at is at giving out supplies and energy and helping societies that are shut down at that point. So it would actually work. It would actually work out pretty well.
And I've seen a lot of people reporting on military troop movements right now on airplanes and going into different towns, stuff like that. And
East Coast, West Coast.
yeah, East Coast, West Coast, and the what I think is possibly the cover story for military movement is to distribute the COVID vaccine, and I think that they're being put in place in order to be everywhere, be prepared to facilitate these mass arrests. And so that's my personal theory. I don't know if I'm right or wrong otherwise, but it seems
I think
like
we're going to find out within a couple of weeks here, Michael. I think that's what we're looking at.
Well, I hope so. For me personally, I'm being a little selfish here. They're trying to send me back to court on January 14th, because long story about that. When I was arrested, I don't know if you know this whole story, but I put out a video of documenting the organized stalking and harassment that I go through. 3 weeks later, I was arrested, set up and arrested, spent a year and 8 months in court, and was pushed through a kangaroo court, was forced to sign a plea deal without them giving me exculpatory evidence, Brady material. I filed a motion to compel to get the exculpatory evidence. They refused it, and they've been fighting me all the way through. So I've been on. I ended up being forced to sign a plea deal and I was forced to sign electronically on the plea deal before I was allowed to read the documents that I was signing. I told them I want to read the documents. They said, no, you have to sign this electronically or else they won't print out. I told the judge, I will not submit to a psychological evaluation because I know about the weaponized systems. I know that this will be used against me, so I cannot testify in the court of law once all of this comes out because you guys want to deem me delusional, even though I've proven proof beyond the shadow of a doubt. They said, no, we won't make you do that. That'll be up to the probation officer, which I thought to myself at the time, can't you become a probation officer with just a high school diploma? How can somebody evaluate if a person needs to be psychologically evaluated? He said, no, that won't happen. Signed the paperwork, probation terms came out. I've been told to take a psychological evaluation. I said, no, they lied to me in court. I'm not going to do that. So now they're sending me back to court to speak with the judge about that situation 6 days before the inauguration. So the timing is impeccable, and I'm trying to fight that. So for all of you out there that pray or just wish good thoughts, pray for me. Keep me in mind and keep an eye out for me. If I disappear on the 14th, they lock me up. So I don't think that'll happen. I'm hoping a lot of good things happen before then, and I think they will. Yeah. Anyway,
I have.
All right.
Do you want me to just get to one more question? Do you got to get going?
I'm
I have
good.
people in here, and I'm having a hard time.
I wanted to answer that person who I can move this. I can move this back up. Look at this.
There you go.
Here.
You are in control.
There's a little thingy. That's awesome. I did not see that. Oh, Deborah Kovac. I wanted to answer her.
What I was going to ask.
Yeah.
Deborah Kovac is a friend of mine and a fellow targeted individual. She's gone through a lot of the same things I've gone through. She's followed me on.
And hence her language. She says, go ahead, lovely Andrea. Andrea.
Yes.
I don't know why I want to say your name incorrectly.
It's
Andrea.
Okay. All the time.
Andrea. Andrea, you want to read it?
Deborah Kovac's question, is John targeted for talking so freely? I can't imagine the FBI likes him talking so much. I like it, but
that's cool.
I love the way before you started the live stream.
I like the way she talks. Yes. Let me see. Is John targeted freely? I can't imagine the FBI. The answer is no and yes. They do not. They don't target me for speaking so freely because they really don't care. Let me tell you, the FBI, and I'm sure they don't like me talking so much, but overall they really don't care. The FBI is a strictly hardcore criminal and anti-terrorist organization. They, for the most part, as long as all of my topics have to do with paranormal, UFOs, things that are beyond the normal. Say again.
Fringe.
Well,
kind of like
yes,
fringe.
Exactly. exactly. Then they don't really care that because of that. If I was out here, plus I'm an attorney, so I know the things that I can say and that I can't say because I've looked at this a long time and I've been an attorney for a long time, and I know what I can say and what I can't say. Like for instance, when we're talking about Renegade, for instance, I know I can talk about the things that are already public knowledge. It's already public knowledge that the guy is most likely not a U.S. person. That he was an asset for the Saudi intelligence agency and for the CIA at the same time.
Yep.
And that he grew up with that. That's part of it. And that he also became an asset for Open Society, which is George Soros' organization. At the same time. So he was collecting money from all of these organizations. But and I talk about that, and I can talk about that openly because it's not secret. It's that what I just said is pretty much in the public domain. People know it already.
A lot of people don't want to believe it.
Well, now let me go back to the documentary that that you were talking about resonated with me because you talked about how you had spoken about James Comey and how they wanted to try to get you out of your position and find something on you, and you use an acronym DIP. I think it was defame, isolate, and purge.
Purge, exactly. DIP. Yeah.
And those are tactics that are used against targeted individuals. Just the standard operating procedures, basically. That isolation is a big one. Completely isolate you from your friends and your family. Defame you, setting somebody up to arrest them to make them look like a violent person, and purge them from society. Whether it's putting them into incarceration, into a private prison system, or in a mental facility. Put them on against their will on psychotropic or SSRI drugs, which would make them easier to control. I think that you have been targeted for doing
targeted many times. Yes,
yeah,
I've been targeted many times. Yeah, and you have to know how to fight. You have to know how to fight back without exposing yourself, without going to authorities. Like in my case, I could have gone to the Department of Justice and said, "Oh, woe is me. Look at what's happening with me," and and they could have labeled me a crazy person, or whatever they wanted to do. But you can't do it that way. You have to figure out how to fight through channels that can actually help you, and that's what I did when I was going through that as well.
What about if it's something like the nanotech? If somebody's repeating that, how
talking about nanotech being inserted?
Just different. Yeah.
What do they mean? Like, how can they fight back against that? Is that what they're asking? How can they?
Some of the things that are not, you're talking about gang stalking being, these are other people doing this type of stuff, but what if it's stuff that's happening to your body that's coming from?
That's another one of those. Oh,
I'll tell you, I might surprise you because I've come across that sort of thing before, and I will always go to the option of referring people to a spiritual authority, a shamanic authority, to especially with anything that involves their body, because those are the people who can resolve that sort of stuff. You would think it would be a scientist that could resolve it. I don't think so. I think you have to go with a shamanic practitioner who can detect and use their spiritual technology to detect and remove things like that from your body. And I've done that sort of thing with a very good friend of mine named Jason Quitt, who's a great shamanic thinker and writer, and who has dealt with that sort of thing before as well.
And that's something that it's good that a lot of people are going to have a hard time with, because a lot of people don't, if you don't understand it in a way that how it works and that it really does work. Yeah. It needs that I think that option needs to become a little bit more widely understood, that people start kind of opening up.
they
as
have to
you know.
talk. The only way it could work is they have to talk to someone who's already been helped in that way. That's the only
There you
way it
go.
could actually.
That
So
makes
they
sense.
would actually, they'd have to be referred to someone who had a similar problem, but who was helped. And I wish I could remember the name of this guy out of Sedona who does this work. He's a pretty well-known guy, but I don't. His name is John. Sorry, what?
If you remember, let me know. I'm 2 hours from
Okay.
Sedona. On there.
Yeah, well, it's
Oh,
one
okay.
of our favorite places. That place has some good energy.
Oh.
So I wear these every day. I got
Yes.
them from in Sedona.
Nice.
Just to add to that, there's people that do have nanotech in them, which probably most of us in the United States have some type of nanotech in us from everything that's been sprayed for years and years and years over the top of us. And there's a high possibility that there's nanotech in that. And just to detoxify your body with, like holistic type detoxification, removing the heavy metals and the nanotech and stuff like that from your body.
Okay,
So-
well, also, I do have another shaman that I absolutely do remember his full name, and he's I got this for instance from him. It's a little device that gives protection, and also gives protection and energy. It has the tree of life or something like that on it, but he's and so I wear this for protection and energy all the time. He creates holotech holotech products. His name is John Mendez, and he creates charms.
That's the one. That sounds familiar to me. I think I might have seen his
From
YouTube
Sedona.
channel or something before.
Yes.
But anyway,
He has a big YouTube channel, and he is able to also. He's not the one I was thinking of, but from Sedona, but he is available online, John Mendez, and he is a great shaman with tremendous powers. I mean, the guy has demonstrated his powers to me over the phone. And to my wife. He'll just tell me and my wife, go stand over here. Now hold the phone up here, and he says, now take a lemon and cut it in half, and then he'll say, okay, now the one on the left, it tastes very lemony, but now the one on the right, it tastes sweet. He says, now go put it in your mouth right now, and then he'll say, yeah, very lemony, very sour, and then he'll put the other one in your mouth. He says, now tell me how sweet it tastes, and then we'll taste the other side, and it's completely sugary and sweet, unbelievable. The guy's powers are real. However, he is a little bit off the wall. I'm trying to say it in a nice way. He's a little bit off the wall, but you have to put up with that if you want to deal.
Favorite people that I've ever met are kind of off the wall.
Exactly.
Some of the
and he is off the wall. He is off the wall, and I just have to say it because it's true. But he could resolve the nanotechs. He could resolve the heavy aluminum, and he could do it pretty quickly. His powers are amazing.
I was just going to ask that because somebody in the comments said something about the aluminum.
Oh yeah.
Aluminum is the most basic detox. It accumulates, causes Alzheimer's.
Okay, so, let's see. I'm just going through the comments too. Getting back to my level here. Andrea calls me 3D Mike.
No, you gave yourself that.
Oh,
nickname.
well, yeah, I told
You
her
said,
to call me that.
3D
So
Mike.
no,
But I do.
I understand
That's
the 4D and the 5D and the different spiritual type things that are going on, but I kind of stay closer to ground level.
Is it John Livingston? Let me just. In Sedona, is that the guy's name? In Sedona, John Livingston, maybe? Comments. I just wanted to check and make sure.
No, I don't think it's John Livingston.
If it comes to you, let us know.
Yeah. Let me see.
So-
I can.
Okay, here's a question from True Kism. Says, John, what are your thoughts on John Brennan panicking all over the media, looking guilty and worried?
I think John Brennan is going to be probably the first guy executed. That's what I think, and I think he knows that because he has, except other than Renegade, he probably has the most culpability for the most things internationally that have happened, including Benghazi, including all the terrible, terrible things that have happened. The killing of our six SEAL team in the helicopter where they were targeted and they were killed.
Yep.
All of these things. I think Brennan is the top guy who's most responsible for the most crimes that have occurred.
And he would have to have knowledge of these psychological torture programs that I speak of all of the time if he was the director of the CIA, because this is compartmentalized. It's all across different agencies, and he would have to have knowledge of that. And I believe that these programs that I talk about, that I've lived through somehow, are responsible for hundreds of thousands of veterans committing suicide, because they were put through this Stasi type torture program that the Germans called Zersetzung, which means decomposition, which they attack every aspect of your life, and they make you just not want to live anymore because it's such a struggle. Everything that you love has been taken away from you. And I really believe that Brennan and a lot of other people up towards the top, household names now, are all completely aware of these programs, and they know. So they keep saying that, 200,000 people have died from COVID. That's what I believe is their transference. They know that 200,000 people have died from these programs, and they'd want to blame it on COVID when they know that they're completely complicit of these deaths happening. And they want to say, well, it's just from PTSD. They're having a hard time when they came back from a deployment from from PTSD. And that's if these veterans were helped and put through some type of therapy as opposed to put into these programs, they'd all still be here with us, in my opinion.
Right. So, absolutely.
And Brennan has to know about that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a question again.
Does Mr. DeSouza know of any extraterrestrial presence in Antarctica or anything relating to Operation High Jump after World War II, where the U.S. military encountered UFOs in Antarctica?
Yeah. Operation High Jump was kind of a failure because Nazi UFOs came and destroyed the American battalion of ships, and they kind of had to go home with their tail between their legs. So yeah, there is a Nazi base at Antarctica. We've always known about that, but it's part of a much larger, of course, alien base that is really what is really underground there in Antarctica, and that is the place where. Go ahead.
This is all in Above Majestic. This is all you go over all this stuff in the movie. So yeah, whoever is asking about that, if you haven't seen Above Majestic, that's a good one.
It's a documentary, another documentary that John was in, and there's a lot of different people that talk about Antarctica and the technology that's there and the different operations that go on. So if you haven't seen that one, definitely check out Above Majestic. I think you can get that on Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah,
you can.
Also, but yeah, that was a great one that John was in as well. So somebody on TikTok, sorry, TikTok, I'm not trying to ignore you guys. We're doing the best we can getting all these questions.
Yeah, it's hard to go back and forth and listen at the same time.
But they asked about the movie Men Who Stare at Goats. So I can tell you a little bit about that movie. Do you know which movie that is, John?
Yes, I do, but you probably know more than I do on that.
So that actually was written about a guy named Major General Stubblebine. And he was one of the worked for the Army for a long time. He ended up being in charge of a lot of national security type stuff. And he's one of the guys that came out and talked about how our air defense systems were taken down on 9/11 and that they that allowed 9/11 to take place. Well, he took part in some Army programs where they were using certain type of telepathy. So, but if you want to know more about the real story of Men Who Stare at Goats, do some research on Major General Stubblebine. And his wife actually, Major General Stubblebine has passed away recently, within the last year or so, I believe. But his wife is actually the one that was helping Desiree Foley, the one that showed us her implants. His wife actually helps targeted individuals and helps them scan for implants and stuff like that. So, and that's all I got to say about that.
Wow. Wow. Now, somebody says if they could ask John how APB's TID base 777. How do you get such a complicated name? Really? That's the name you came up with for yourself? He says, Michael, could you ask John how I personally could get a fair foot into the local FBI office with another person, witness, and blatant evidence? I tell you, you have to call and make an appointment with a person called duty agent. Duty, that's the FBI agent on duty. There's always one that's assigned to do walk-ins, and you just call them up and you call up the office, your local FBI office, and you just tell them I need to sit down with duty agent and show them my evidence and what's going on with my case. And they will talk to you. They will make an appointment, and you can come in and you can bring all the evidence you want to show it to them, and just go from there. And you just record the meeting and go from there. That's it. That's all you can do.
When you say record the meeting, will they allow you to record video or audio only in there to record your meeting with them, or what rights do you have to record?
I meant just record the time and date of the meeting. Record the time and date of the meeting, because they won't allow you to actually record the meeting. Yeah, no, they won't.
I just wanted to verify. So because a lot of people that are in my situation, they're reaching out for help, calling the FBI, calling Department of Homeland Security, calling local police, sheriff, stuff like that. And and I did this exact same thing. I've called the FBI multiple times, and they ended up hanging up on me. Called them when I lived in Norman, Oklahoma. I called them here in Arizona. I called Department of Homeland Security. They kept telling me that's not our jurisdiction, or that's not something we investigate. You need to call this person. And every time I called the person they told me to call, they told me to call the same person I just got off the phone with. So it was like this pass the buck thing, and nobody would ever want to deal with it. They just push you away, So
that's
good advice. Go to the duty officer at your local FBI agency. What would you call it? FBI office?
FBI office. There's resident agencies out, and in big cities, it's the FBI headquarters office, and you just call them up and just go on in and take your stuff.
Okay. Good question. Thank you for whoever asked that.
Do you think the operators, controllers place bets on individuals? I've seen that question pop up a couple times.
Say it again, Andrea.
That's kind of a
mic.
That's kind of a mic question. So in the targeted individual community, so Dr. Robert Duncan talks about he has a few important videos that people need to watch concerning that. One of them is a full MIT presentation. He gave a presentation to students at MIT about neural connectivity technology. And he also did a presentation called Intelligent Systems of Control, Part 1 and Part 2. And in Intelligent Systems of Control, he talks about how the targeted individual goes through hypergame theory. And they put the targeted individual through this series of moves and counter moves, measures, countermeasures, to basically test on that individual what the maximum time of death would be, how long it would take them to push that person to their death. And so what this person is asking, are there people that place bets on how long a targeted individual will last? And it's just kind of a question that people out there, it's a guessing thing. I don't think anybody would really be able to know that answer. And again, if you're asking John that question, I mean, he's the expert on pretty much everything, but that would be that. He wouldn't know anything like that, and I wouldn't know anything like that. The only people that would know are people that are actually doing that, and they would never fess up to it in the first place. So, but it's highly possible. I mean, people bet on everything, and if there are programs, not if, I know there are programs, non-consensual human experiment programs that they try to push the targeted individual to their death, or try to get them to act out in aggression for social engineering. So a lot of these false flags, I'm using all these words on my channel and I'm not supposed to. I don't think I care. A lot of these.
Come on, dude, you're going to get us demonetized. Don't.
It's $40 a month that I make on YouTube. I don't even know if the getting the message out is more important. Unless you're putting this on your channel, then I'll try to be a little more.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. But yeah, that's one of the things that's used with the TI program. They want to push that person into acting out in violence, shooting up a school, a mall, or whatever, and then immediately using them acting out in violence for social engineering and going straight to the Mockingbird media and saying guns are bad, remove guns from all of society, when they don't admit the root cause of that person acting out. They were pushed into that to be used for social engineering, and that's just one of the things that go on with that. And which I've used the graph that you made, actually showing the Smith-Mundt, it's in your presentation, showing the Smith-Mundt Act when that was revised, or when it was removed so they could use propaganda against us, and then mass shootings skyrocketed. That's part of this whole thing that I talk about. So that's been very helpful. I made a TikTok video with that, and that went viral too. I think it's probably somewhere around 300,000 views.
Wow. So
connecting that watch listing guidance and the Smith-Mundt Act and everything, it all connects. It's a big web of conspiracy actuality. Yeah, conspiracy fact. Not. So,
good stuff. Good stuff. All right, guys, how are we
Somebody's
looking here?
Checking out some of the questions. Somebody's asking, have we watched Above Majestic yet? Weren't we just talking about that? Yes, we have, and John is great in that. And just again, for people that are just logging in, just getting here, John was just in a documentary called 1,000 Pieces. And here, oh yeah, I still have the information scrolling down here. John, where's a link to that? Do you have a link to the documentary 1,000 Pieces on your Twitter account, correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so
and it's a Vimeo. It's at Vimeo, Vimeo.com, the platform Vimeo, and you have to enter in DeSouza gift for 20% off the purchase price there.
So I highly recommend anybody watching this, or anybody in general, to watch that documentary. You purchase it once, you own it. You can watch it 100 times if you want. I recommend watching it 2 or 3 times, because there's so much information that you're going to pick up something the second time you watch it that you didn't absorb the first time. And I've watched it 3 times now, and I've picked up on some information that I didn't realize I missed the first time. So that's a great documentary that John was just in, and Above Majestic. What are some other?
Before you,
go ahead.
If you don't have Twitter, where can they find a link for that? Is it in your website or anywhere else?
Yes, I'd have to. Facebook, on my Facebook, John DeSouza. John DeSouza Facebook.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. We got them all at the bottom.
Yeah.
LifeLog. You familiar with LifeLog?
No, I don't remember.
LifeLog was a CIA program that was created to get information from every American citizen. And the day that the CIA LifeLog ended, the day after that, Facebook was created.
Wow. Oh yeah, I remember that from one of your TikToks.
Do a little bit of research on LifeLog. Yeah, that's kind of like you were talking about the fake disclosure earlier with Tom DeLonge, and they were talking about all the different stuff. Those guys that are on his group just happen to all be CIA agents, and they all retired. And then the next day they're on this. Yeah, supposedly, allegedly, we'll just say. Then the next day they're on the Tom DeLonge group giving alien disclosure. So
all right, let's do our final here.
Sure that I'm putting this down here right. Is it 1,000 pieces, 1,000 pieces, or is it 1000? What just happened?
It's a and the words 1,000. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Yep.
there. It's 80,000 pieces. Yeah.
We just had a little
Oh, I
glitch in
probably don't need to
the
read that.
interface here. Something weird happened.
Yeah, it went somewhere for a second.
Oh, okay.
That's
Are we
normal.
good now?
We're
yeah,
good.
we're back. We just did something kind of
Okay.
weird.
We're good.
Let's finish up whatever we're gonna finish here.
I think now would be a good, just about a good time. We've talked about all kinds of interesting stuff, answered a bunch of questions, and had a talk. And I think it's dinner time, isn't it? All you people watching, go eat dinner.
Is
It's
it?
Friday night. Go do something with your
Okay.
girlfriend, with your wife. Do some research. Look into some of the stuff that we told you. Go to Vimeo.
Yep.
Order 1,000 pieces. Watch that. It's not just entertainment. It's something.
This is stuff everybody needs to know.
There's things in there that you need to know that directly affect all of us in one way or another, regardless if you are a targeted individual or whatever group you happen to fall into. If you're just an average, everyday American citizen, the information in that affect you in a roundabout way, one way or the other. So, this is part of the Great Awakening. People learning a lot of this information and understanding what we've all lived through for a long time and have been lied to about. And this is the new true information that everybody's going to need to know, and what's going to be taught in hopefully in the future, what will be taught in school, in history books, what we've all gone through and what the real history is.
Exactly. Good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm gonna repeat something real quick. Hold on. Just for those of you who are watching on TikTok, I'm gonna put Michael's. If you didn't catch, because on TikTok you can't go back and you can't rewind. And if there are people who came in late and they want to know what the first half of the show is about, I'm putting Michael's website on the TikTok feed right now. So write it down.
And I'll probably go ahead and put this talk that we just had on my website. And John, just so you know, the people here on TikTok love you, and they're all saying thank you so much.
Yeah, we've got 117 watching from TikTok right now.
Oh,
100%. Awesome.
And I concur. I love you, man. I really appreciate everything that you've done, and the help that you've given me personally, and the information I've learned from you just in your interviews and stuff like that. And you're a good soul, and I can't thank you enough for just spending the time with us tonight doing this.
It's been awesome, Michael. Andrea, it's been awesome, and I really have enjoyed this, and it's been pretty awesome stuff. Thanks so much. I really enjoyed myself, and this is important stuff. This is important stuff to get out. Absolutely.
All right. Well, hopefully we can get together another time, maybe down the road, and talk about all the stuff that we talked about. And once that actually it occurs, and we go, hey, yeah, we talked about that on this. So this has happened. This has happened. This has happened.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, and there's a lot going on right now. So maybe we can go over some of that stuff. So
exactly. Maybe I'll see you guys on the Citizens Council when we put together.
Yeah.
Let's
figure out what are we gonna do next.
Yeah, maybe testifying in Nuremberg 2.0.
There you go. Now you're talking. That's what I'm talking about.
I've been waiting for it for a long time, and I want to be front row to explain, a lot of different things. So
exactly.
We'll hope for that.
John, are you on TikTok? Do you put anything on TikTok, or do you just have an account?
I just opened the membership after what Michael did the other day, and I just left it there, and I don't have content. Yeah.
That's how I am. I've got one video that I have a duet that I did when I first started. I don't put anything on TikTok yet. I might someday if I've got some stuff to talk about. Might start using it.
If I could work up the skills that Michael has, I mean,
right? I'm like,
I'd be doing it every day. I don't know how he does that. That's amazing stuff.
I have to thank the Air Force partially for that. I was trained at the Defense Information School at Fort Meade, Maryland. They taught me multimedia illustration, photo, video, broadcast journalism, build websites. So I learned a lot of that from the Air Force. But
being able to do it in like 60 seconds it's just crazy to be able to. It's crazy.
It's a challenge.
Hey, what did we say earlier? You got to figure out what are your strengths. What are you going to be able to contribute in our new
got to learn to adapt and overcome. So yeah, just a new platform, 60 seconds, you get the base information out to people, and then that plants the seed and gives them somewhere to start researching or ask questions or get involved in the conversation. So, all right. Well, I will actually, yeah, maybe I'll take a couple excerpts from this interview and put that on TikTok, and maybe they'll quit shadow banning me so some people can actually see it. I know that they love the content, and I want to share it with them. So I'll try that.
Good. Awesome stuff. Thanks again, Michael. Andrea,
Okay.
thank you so much.
Nice meeting you, John.
Thank you, everybody here on YouTube. Thank you for everybody on TikTok for joining us, for participating, asking questions, commenting, and couldn't have done this without your help here. Thank you guys all. And I think we'll go ahead and end the broadcast now.
Hold on.
Whoa, maybe not.
I had a few people asking on TikTok again how to rewatch it. My name has moderator above it, so find where I posted. It says Michael Barden. That's his YouTube channel name. When this is done, it'll still be available on YouTube to go back and rewatch it.
Yes.
So
on TikTok,
there you go, Michael Barden.
Link is in the bio, so go check that out there. So, all right, we're gonna let John go. It's Friday night. He wants to go spend time with his wife, and
I'm hungry.
Yep, and it's dinner time. So, all right, thanks again, John, and have a great night.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Take care.
All right, talk to you soon.